Welcome to episode 9 of Pause for Peace. My name is Jule and I pastor Hillwood, Presbyterian Church USA that gathers on the west side of Nashville, Tennessee in order to be about a sense of belonging with one another and a sense of blessing, of being about the work of love in our local community. I'm glad you have joined me today. I hope you have been doing well. For many of us in this northern hemisphere, especially in the United States, there are many of us who have been going through the extremes of winter weather, frigid temperatures, lots of snow, ice on top of that for those of us here in Middle Tennessee, many of us just getting out for the first time these last few days. I'm recording this earlier in the week, and for many of us, we're first getting back in our cars and on the go once again, even in this dreariness of this winter day. This is a season when it is easy to kind of get in that place of dormancy, of waiting, of listening, of watching. Some of us might even feel a little sluggish at this time of the year. And on this episode of Pause for Peace, I'm inviting us into an experience, a meditation, a opportunity to learn more of an ancient prayer tool, a tool actually originally, we believe, used as a symbol for the process of transformation. And it's a tool called the Labyrinth. So if you are watching this video cast, or if you are listening to the podcast, if you're watching, I want to show you a finger labyrinth, what is known as the 13 circuit labyrinth. And the labyrinth, so if you're listening, I'll explain to you that the labyrinth is a big old circle, but it has many smaller circles inside this large circle. And a labyrinth that has circuits, it's like passes where you go forward and then you switch back and you come backwards and then you go forward again, however the path guides you through this very long experience with a circle of moving in and out, all the way around until you come to the center of the circle and have an opportunity to be in the center of the circle. And then once you're ready and once you feel moved, you go back out. And in a labyrinth, you walk the same path in as you walk out. You're just doing it in reverse, obviously. Sometimes people will call a labyrinth a maze, and there really are some significant differences between a labyrinth and a maze. A labyrinth is a single path. It is one way in and one way out. You cannot get lost in a labyrinth unless you really are messed up. Sometimes labyrinths might be made outside and the rocks might move around that have been used to build a labyrinth, or something has gotten in the way of the path, and well, then you could have a problem with a labyrinth. But in a labyrinth that is well tended, or an ancient stone edifice that could be a labyrinth, you won't get lost. You won't get lost. You just keep following the path, one foot in front of the other, on your way to the center, this place where we can rest in stillness, where we then can move out again through the labyrinth to unite with whatever has come in this experience of the labyrinth, to unite with this wisdom for our lives. So on a 13 circuit labyrinth, there's switchback, some which make you feel like you're just going a little bit, and some that send you all the way around the edge of the circle and back and back and back, and you feel like you're so close to the center of the circle. And then the switchback happens and you end up back all the way outside on the edge of the path. And it can seem like it's a very frustrating experience, but the one frustration that will not come is that unlike that maze I've mentioned earlier, on a labyrinth, you just keep following the path and you will end up in the center. In a maze, you can get lost. There's more than one way to go in a maze. And this fall, my sisters and a friend and I had the experience of being in a corn labyrinth, a corn maze, actually. It was not a labyrinth, but they sort of publicized it that way. But it was a maze because you would go in and you hit a dead end and you have to go back out and find another way. There was a point on this corn maze where my sisters and I got separated from each other. We got lost for a little bit, and it was really frustrating, getting much warmer. And, we're now under the summer sun and, the fall sun, which is very still hot in the South here in Middle Tennessee. And we were just really getting frustrated in this experience of the corn maze, because there's more than one way to go in a corn maze, and there are intentional roadblocks, dead ends, that will in fact make you turn around and make you try to figure out the puzzle of how do you get to a center, or is there even a center in a corn maze? Sometimes not. In a labyrinth, there is a single path in and a single path out, and it all leads to the center and then leads you back out to the same place from which you began. Labyrinths are this ancient tool that is a way for us to unite with this energy of releasing, of waiting, and of uniting, of like rising to a new thing. In that way, a labyrinth actually can remind us of the path itself, which is, in the Christian world, an understanding of being called to a life of shedding what gets in our way, of following in the way of love, of uniting ourselves fully each and every day, uniting with God, which is this pool, this divine love that is in us and that is beyond us in all things, and then uniting every step of our lives, every bit of our being with this ancient wisdom of the love that unites all things, and uniting ourselves to live in that energy each and every day. Some of the earliest known labyrinths are actually found in literature that has been written about Crete and about Egypt. There's even evidence in India and in Britain, in what was known as Brittany at the time, in Ireland, in Scotland, sort of all in that southern European area and northern Africa, this kind of fertile crescent all around the great Mediterranean Sea. There are many examples of labyrinths, and these earliest labyrinths in Crete and in Egypt, as old as like 2000 BCE, there is evidence that they were a part of a process of transformation in the legends around the labyrinth on Crete. There's this sense in which the prince has to grow into being the king, the sovereign. And so he has to undergo this process of transformation in the labyrinth. In Egypt, the most elaborate labyrinth, this ancient Egyptian labyrinth that ends with this pyramid, it's actually been destroyed, we believe, like taken apart, and aspects of it used, the building materials of it used in other daily activities of the world around. But this ancient labyrinth in Egypt was a spiritual tool to really help people enter into this process of dying. In fact, spiritually, the Egyptians believed at that time in their history more than 2,000 years BCE, they believed that there would be a time when they would enter into what they call the underworld, and they would be encountering spirits along the way. They would enter into the place of the dead, and it was through this process of moving through this very gorgeous, elaborate labyrinth that has been written about in antiquity. No evidence of it archaeologically found, just a little trace of it, but there's this sense of like entering into the underworld, into the place of the dead, as we shed everything, all illusions, all possessions, everything we need to shed in order to enter into a place of new life, the afterlife. And so in the Christian world, we have examples of the labyrinth in beautiful cathedrals in Europe. You may be a part of a Christian community or other community that has a labyrinth on your own property, maybe in your church facility. Perhaps you have a canvas labyrinth. Perhaps you've been to a conference center that has built a labyrinth outdoors. In the Hillwood Presbyterian Church facility, we actually used a room that we transformed into our room for the labyrinth. It's a floor that does not really allow us to do a whole lot else in that room because the echo bounces so much on this floor that's like a cement kind of asbestos tile kind of floor from the 50s. And we just took rainbow colored string and we constructed a labyrinth. And we did that several years ago and continue to enjoy this tool that can allow us, or anybody who comes into the building, can allow an opportunity of this, what some have called this threefold path. I like to think of it as a fourfold path, and I'll tell you why in a second, but a threefold path of what's called purgation and illumination, illuminato, and then unification, like uniting ourselves with whatever has come in that center of the circle. In the modern world, the labyrinth is often used in therapeutic or healing or meditative, mindful experiences. In fact, psychologist Carl Jung, he actually used and thought of the labyrinth as a tool of transformation that moved us to a place of wholeness, that allowed us to integrate with our capital S self, which is how Carl Jung spoke about the journey of individuation to move into this place of our wholeness, of our true self. You might even think of it as your authentic self, or this God divine self that is breathed into you. The labyrinth offers an opportunity to get in touch with who we really are. So I think of it as a fourfold process because I'm influenced and excited about the work of Matthew Fox, who in Original Blessing talks about the fact that we are created as these beautiful, wonderful beings. And so it's helpful, I think, as I begin the process of the labyrinth to just, before I even enter it, to start with that first step of remembering that I am created in the image of the divine, and that the breath that is life itself, that is God, moves in me, and that I am able to breathe, to pour out my life flow for the wholeness of the world. And then I take my step into the labyrinth and I begin to shed that which gets in the way, the fears, the inner critic, the confusion that I might have. I just begin to let all that go, the distractions, that sense of urgency that all things must be done and they must be done now. Just begin to calm all that and let it go as I move through the circuits of the labyrinth. And as I walk a labyrinth, for me at least, it feels very much like uniting with this rhythm of grace, this rhythm of full acceptance, and this rhythm of calm that literally is able to calm me down from whatever might be getting in the way of me seeking to live love in the world each day. And sometimes I enter a labyrinth because I am truly seeking some kind of understanding. I might be looking for wisdom for what I might need to be doing next with my life. But I also might just be in a place of being kind of humdrum in my sense of spiritual connection with the divine, with God. And so I just want something different in order to be able to unite in a new way and to hear and to receive some kind of clarity. And for me, being an embodied soul, I find the movement of the labyrinth very helpful for utilizing my whole being, body and soul, breath and physicality of movement in order to unite with the wisdom, the illumination that God has for my life in those moments. So I don't have a way to literally physically move us together on this podcast through a labyrinth, but I have a few ideas of how we might be able to use the wisdom of a labyrinth in our daily lives, no matter where we are. Well, one way is to pull a finger labyrinth off of the internet. Some of us might even have a labyrinth, a finger labyrinth that we might have on our desk. There have been some very popular examples of that over time. We also can utilize a labyrinth, as a person who used to work with children in the church. There was a time when the churches I served didn't have a labyrinth, but we were wanting the children to learn all sorts of different ways to be about uniting with God in their daily lives. And so we would just use the pews of the sanctuary. We would have the kids literally go in and out, in and out, in and out of all the pews until they got to a different section. We had sections of pews in that facility, and then they would do the unification part, or they would just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then go to the front once again. If they started in the front, they would return to the front after they got to the back and had a chance to sit in a pew and a little bit of quiet, and then go forth once again. Pews are like the long benches that are in sanctuary buildings. And so another way to use that whole process of remembering that we are created in the image of the divine, that we are actually created with love coursing through our veins, with the breath of life animating us and allowing us to live. Another way to begin this process is literally moving our bodies in a walk, right? We can start with that sense of our goodness. We can begin our path on our walk in that mindset of I am letting go with each deliberate step. I am purging, I am shedding emotionally, mentally, spiritually, what I might be carrying that is weighing me down or that is not allowing me to live in this place of wholeness, in this place of this pool of love coming forth from me. And then along the way, sometimes I walk to a point where I love to then just sit and stop for a few moments and just listen and hear the birds, feel the wind on my face and through my hair, and just experience that sunshine on my body. And so if you are using a walking experience in this labyrinth kind of mindset, when you get to that place, you might want to stop. It's going to be your turning around place, and just stop right there and be in some stillness and allow yourself to listen for the wisdom that will arise from within, which is the Spirit of God trying to speak to you. Or you might even notice wisdom coming from beyond yourself, and you're uniting and listening for that wisdom from the divine, from God, that might be coming to you from beyond yourself. And then after that time on your walk, when you might be in a time of stillness, you deliberately get up and you head back to your home or to your point of beginning, and you take each step with intention, and with the intention of uniting yourself to that experience of whatever illumination came in your stillness, of seeking through every step to commit to that transformative message, that change that came to you. So in this experience of Pause for Peace, I am going to suggest a way that we use our body for just a few moments to have this labyrinthine experience. So what I'm going to suggest is that we start getting ourselves grounded, seated in a chair or on a stool or on the floor, or maybe lying in a bed if you prefer, or lying on the floor. But as we begin, we're getting our feet, we're going to be warming up our feet in this labyrinth experience. So we can heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, opposite feet, opposite toe to heel, opposite toe to heel. We can be working on that as we're getting ourselves grounded. And I'm going to invite you to place your hands on the center of your chest. This is my invitation to you to begin in this sense of your goodness, this sense of, so many things happen throughout the day that can make us feel pulled off from that, but begin in your sense of your blessedness. And so we are focusing on the love that is within us. We are grounded, we are breathing. And allowing this blessedness that we are to come to our awareness. And what I'm going to invite us to do is just a motion with our body, which will be like a motion that feels like a purging. So for this time of entering into the labyrinth, in this experience I'm guiding you through, I'm just going to invite you to move your body forward and then backward to your resting place, and forward and backward and forward. Now let's do this in a rhythm that is slow enough, deliberate enough. Remember, it's that 40 beats per minute that calms the central nervous system. And literally as we're leaning in, it's that experience of I'm purging, I'm letting go. You don't need to go all the way to the ground with your body. If you wanted to, you could. You could pick a yoga pose and have yourself doing it with that intention that you're releasing. So as we move forward with our body, let's release our fear and back. And as we move forward with our body, let's release our inner critic and back. And as we move forward with our body, let's release all the doing lists. Let's do that one more time. Probably need to do that one 3 times. Those lists of all the actions that we feel, all the tasks we feel we must get done this day. Just for a few moments, we want to release those. This is our time to pause for peace. To create this column of centeredness, of inner peace. Let's release any worries as we move our body forward and then lean back to our resting point. All the worries, let them go. Let's release anything that is angering us. Your anger may be very justified right now, but for a moment, let's just release it so that we can get ourselves back balanced. You might want to be visualizing yourself literally shedding these from your body, perhaps like a snake sheds their skin, just letting it go. You don't need it anymore, not for these moments. And how about our distractions? For some of us, it might be social media. It might be binge watching a television show. It might be food that we use to distract us from feeling our true emotions. It might be alcohol that we might be using to numb ourselves, to not allow us to feel the chaos and tensions of our lives. Whatever the distractions are from who we are and what we are to be in the world each day, just literally see yourself shedding those in these moments. Our tensions, any place in our body that's tense. It's just a beautiful gift of the labyrinth. When we are actually walking a labyrinth, it is like a physical experience of releasing. We can use our breath and unite our breath with our steps to release. And any inner chaos, let's do our best to release that right now. You might need to be using your words. You're at home by yourself, perhaps, or somewhere that you might be on your own, where you might be able to say, like, I release you. I release you. Go, leave me for a few moments, inner worry. The chaos that can be in our heads, the monkey mind, just like go away for a little bit, just leave me be for a little bit. That's one way that we set that boundary, that we use that energy of ourselves that is about defining who we are and deciphering. And we set that boundary and say, no, you're not welcomed here right now. The distractions, the chaos, the worries, the fear, you're not welcomed here right now. You're not serving me, so be gone. When you feel that you have purged enough, that you have let go enough, that you have shed enough of what gets in the way of you being your whole self, then I want you to just, because we're in this chair pose of labyrinth, I want you to just come to stillness back in your chair or on the floor, wherever you might be. You can put your hands in prayer pose. You can put your hands on your chest. We're going to enter into these moments of just being quiet. And I hope you have entered into this labyrinth experience seeking some kind of clarity, some kind of wisdom, some kind of returning to love, some kind of knowing of your purpose. And so with those intentions, we enter into this time of quiet. Whatever it is you are wanting to hear a word from love about, this is the intention we set right now. We just notice and we pay attention and we listen. We might even be looking with our inner vision to see what it is divine, what it is God wants to reveal to us, wants us to know about this intention that we have set for this time of quiet. Another way to be listening is just with your palms facing upwards. You can just lie them on your lap as if you are open palmed and ready to receive whatever it is you need to receive right now. You've purged yourself of the fear, of the worry, of the distractions, of the to-dos. You've let all of that go. You've used your words to tell all those things they're not welcomed here in these moments. So don't let them come back in. And if they do, just remind them. And if you even need to move your body again, just purge them once again. Remind them right now, there's no place for them here right now. There's no place for monkey mind right now. You are just inviting those to calm for a few moments, letting them go. You can literally see them floating away on the boat down the river if you would like. Let's just take 2 more deep breaths from our belly, out, in, out, in. One more. Now are we going to begin? If we were in the middle of a labyrinth, literally a physical labyrinth, we would now get up and we would begin to unite ourselves step by step intentionally with whatever we've heard. And even if all we have experienced is a moment of centeredness, that in and of itself can be God's gift to us, that we want to unite ourselves with that experience, that noticing of being centered, whatever it has been. Let's now unite ourselves with that. And this time I'm going to invite us to move our body backwards, to just lean backwards. And if you can visualize, like, your place of stillness was where you had that illumination. It's almost like in uniting and moving your body backwards, which would be, you would be literally now beginning the path out of the labyrinth. But in this experience, as you move your body backwards, it's like you're pulling that wisdom into yourself so that you can take it with you from this time of quiet. This way of using your body as like a lever is just one way that almost anybody could experience a labyrinth and the wisdom of a labyrinth. So I'm pulling that illumination into myself so that as I leave this time, I can be united with that gem, that pearl of wisdom that was given to me, that vision of love, of seeing whatever I needed to see for my transformation, for my wholeness, whatever word I needed, I can just be pulling that into myself and uniting my life with that, because I'm going to leave this chair, this experience of being on the labyrinth, to go about my daily tasks, to go about interacting with loved ones, to go about being out in the world. And I want to take this gift from the labyrinth, this gift that God has given me, I want to take that with me into my daily life. And be sure, as you are moving your body backwards and uniting yourself with that wisdom, don't crane your neck. Be sure you're keeping your body loose, not tensing your muscles anywhere. Be very careful if you have lower back problems. You don't want to overextend at all. You're not like yanking the wisdom. You're just trying to like invite it into you. It's a very gentle process. And when we walk on the path of a labyrinth in to that place of illumination and out, we do so, like I said, with those intentional steps, and we do so at a very slow pace. I've seen children and teenagers try to run fast through a labyrinth. That's not going to get you the kind of purging and illuminating and uniting that you need. I have seen people dance a labyrinth, which can be a wonderful way, just shaking your body and like releasing everything in that way. And then another way that you're inviting all things in. That can be a beautiful way to be experiencing a labyrinth, but running through the process of a labyrinth is not really going to get you anywhere. Might get you a little exercise, but a labyrinth is not made for physical exercise. It's made for a spiritual experience, a spiritual exercise. Typically, if it's a 13-circuit labyrinth, it's probably going to take you at least 30 minutes if you're going at sort of a deliberate, intentional pace in this spiritual process of a labyrinth. Sometimes 45, it can take longer. You could spend 20 minutes doing your meditative practice in the center, in that place of illumination. And now in this last one, let's take one more lean backwards to pull that wisdom into ourselves, to unite ourselves with that wisdom. Let's return to our stillness at the center, returning our body upright, or if we are laying on the floor, if you're laying on the floor, you're going to have adjusted this experience in some way. And as we return to our resting position, let's notice what's taking place within us. You might now even offer a prayer, either verbally aloud or in the quiet recesses of your heart right now, because perhaps you have received a word of transformation that is truly calling you to a very big change in your life. And so you might need a prayer right now for courage, for persistence, for true acceptance of the transformation you're being called to. So in this place of our resting point, our beginning point, we would be back at the entrance of the labyrinth, which is also the exit of the labyrinth, because it's a singular path. And let us now, having purged and experienced illumination and now uniting with this, let's set that intention. But the blessed being that we are is ready to go forth from these moments to integrate into daily life that wisdom that has come, that touch of our wholeness that we have experienced, that like centering in the chaos that we might have experienced, that vision of how love can look in our particular circumstance. Perhaps we came to this experience with a true daily concern, something that has really been tumultuous in a relationship we've had, and now we have some illumination and we have seen how we can live in a new way in relationship to this person or being that we have had some conflict with. And so now we are making that commitment to take that gift that we have been given in this process, to bring it into ourselves as we have done in the process of exiting the labyrinth, and to truly make the commitment to utilizing that gift in our world each day. And we want to end this experience of the labyrinth with great gratitude. So we call upon the name of God in however you might call upon God, the divine, the holy, Abba Father, Mama God, whatever you might say. In these moments, let us express our gratitude for this experience, even if it has seemed like the weirdest thing we've ever done. Let's express our gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Holy One, for what we have seen, what we have heard, what we now know, what we now notice and experience in our being, because of this time of walking, in quotes, air quotes, walking this labyrinth, this single path that leads us deeper and deeper and deeper into who we have been created to be. So be it. Beloved, I am grateful you have joined for this episode 9 of Pause for Peace. Notice what you're experiencing now. You might want to jot a note in your journal or on a phone note. You're welcome to do so. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you'd like to respond to the question we put forth in our question answer section, you may do so. Or otherwise, I look forward to connecting with you again next week for episode 10. Thank you so much for being here and have a very blessed